Mountain Safety Research, based in Seattle, Washington, revolutionized mountaineering and backcountry cooking with the first remote canister cook stove over 20 years ago. The remote canister stove is the best all-around choice for backcountry enthusiasts and explorers because they are compact, lightweight, highly efficient, and can use a windscreen. They can also handle various types of cookware. MSR stoves are also field maintainable and will last a user a lifetime if taken care of properly. They come with a detailed owner's manual and service guide, which should be read by all new users. All owners should also use their stove in a controlled environment before setting off into the backcountry. The basics of use are lighting and cleaning, which I would like to demonstrate to you now. Let me show you how to assemble a Whisperlite stove. We have the windscreen, the reflector, which will be used to reflect the heat back to your pots and create a leave no trace environment. The stove, which you need to unfold and assemble the legs. And the fuel bottle, which is a tech tip. The more pressure you have in the bottle, the hotter the flame. But you probably only need about 15 to 16 pumps. Assemble the pump onto the stove and make sure that your safety gate is locked so nothing can come disconnected. And if in a windy environment, you could go ahead and put your windscreen around the stove when lighting to help you in the process. When lighting the stove and the pump is pressurized, you want to collect fuel in the bottom of the stove's priming cup. The secret to this is when you start to hear fuel coming through the fuel line, go ahead and shut it off. You only need a small amount of fuel to pressurize the system. And the way that MSR stoves work is fuel is vaporized in the generator loop, and this is what you're preheating to get the stove started. Now that I have fuel in the priming cup and my stove is again off, I will light this fuel and begin to pressurize the system. As the flame is burning and adding heat to the generator loop, the stove is beginning to get hot. This process will take around 20 to 30 seconds. You'll start to see a blue flame at the top of the burner. If you're an experienced user, you could then start to slowly cut the flame on as the flame starts to turn blue on top of the burner. You can see that happening here. The thing that most people do, which is incorrect, is leave the fuel on before you get a primed burner. If that happens, you'll get a large flame that sometimes can scare new users. But most of the time it's just because they didn't read their instructions. And this process, done in this manner, only takes about 20-30 seconds to get the stove going. Once the burner's lit, the stove's hot, you'll be able to boil water in around 3 minutes. And once again, one of the most useful things about a remote canister stove is that you're able to control the environment and reflect all of that heat back to your pot. One of the last things to know about using the MSR Whisperlite is when you cut the stove off or you're adjusting any of your flame temperature, since your control valve is located a few inches away from your burner, know that there is a small delay. So when you shut the stove down, it'll take about 10 seconds to cut off. I'd like to show you a few of the common mistakes that users can have with the Whisperlite that you can look out for. One is attaching the safety clip to the pump. This piece of metal can rotate on the fuel bottle, on the fuel line. So just make sure that when attached, it's underneath the pump and you do lock the closing gate. Another problem that new users can have is adding too much fuel to the priming cup which creates a very large priming flame. See, this is the one where it's kind of got to just burn out. Another common mistake that owners can do is cutting the fuel on too early before the stove is completely primed. You'll get a large flame, and if this happens, shut the pump down and let the flame diminish some before cutting the burner back on. Another mistake that sometimes can be a little dangerous, which I'll demonstrate but not actually do, is once the priming flame goes out, know that your stove is hot, and if you light the match or your lighter, you always want to do that before you cut your fuel on. What will happen is users, instead of lighting their match first, will actually cut their stove on thinking they're going to see liquid fuel, but remember, the fuel's being vaporized and there'll be a cloud of gas around the stove, and customers will light the match, and we call it the foomp factor, where the cloud of gas is ignited. And I'm not going to do that because I would like to keep my beer today. Come visit us again at outdoorsportsmarketing.com for regular gear clinics and updates from our team. So come visit